Today I decided to give you guys a review of Superman 2025, or James Gunn's Superman to be more accurate. This is a film that stars David Corenswet as Superman slash Clark Kent, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, and Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. The film is the first in the new DC universe, and it's essentially about Clark Kent slash Superman trying to fight Lex Luthor and several of the perils that he brings during his third year as Superman. So without further ado, let's give my review of Superman 2025. First, the good. David Cornsweet is great as Superman. He brings that sense of hopefulness that you often saw during the Christopher Reeves films. And he has that goody two-shoes, Boy Scout kind of charm to him, and it really does work. He even looks the part very much. While he's not as beefy or ripped as Henry Cavill was in the role, I do think he's much more comic accurate, and he's doing a great job here. Rachel Brosnahan is really good as Lois Lane, and even looks a lot like Margot Kidder in a lot of ways. Both actresses have very sharp features, such as like a slightly more pointed nose and chin, and you'd swear that they were related, and the casting is just magnificent. Not only from a physical standpoint, from just an acting standpoint as well. She's got that sass that Lois always had, and she doesn't take shit from anybody, and I really do enjoy her portrayal here in this movie. And Nathan Fillion is great as the Green Lantern Guy Gardner. He's not the main Green Lantern, obviously, but he's kind of a don't give no shits, do whatever you can to get it done kind of Green Lantern, and he's actually very entertaining in the film. And I wouldn't mind him and the Justice Gang having their own solo adventure. But one of the major standouts here that kind of surprised me was Eddie Gathegi, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, as Mr. Terrific. He really does steal every scene that he's in. And I've never even heard of the character before this movie came out, but I can honestly see his comic books starting to fly off shelves after this film. He's really great, and I'm looking forward to, like I said, either a Justice Gang movie or just a movie with him as the head of it. Either way, he should have been the leader of that team, and he's probably the best part of the Justice Gang. The cast is pretty solid. There are a few missteps here, but those are the ones that I really enjoyed and stuck out. But what's also good about the film has to be the action. It's high-flying and pulpy and very comic booky. It's unapologetically silly as well at times, but it really does fit the tone of this movie. From Superman flying at high speeds to fighting giant kaijus and superpowered beings, it all works very well for this movie, and the action is fun and pulpy, and if you have any kids, they're going to have a blast with this movie. The action hits hard and it hits fast, and it's very good. Another good aspect of the film definitely has to be the CGI itself. While the trailers made it look a little bit cartoony at times, and there are a few rough-looking shots, I gotta say that doesn't really translate to the film itself. Every CGI effect, well, you can often tell the CGI is very good CGI, and is blended well with a lot of live-action stuff here. And even though the film is over the top, it does look realistic, and it has a nice color palette. It's bright, colorful, and also good-looking, and I was actually impressed by the look of this film. And lastly, I think that the drama presented in the film, although it is sprinkled here and there kind of unevenly, is very good. I enjoy all the scenes where it's just Lois and Clark hanging out, and honestly, those might be the best scenes of the movie, even more than the action scenes. And I also very much enjoy the scenes where he's hanging out with his parents, although I do think that they made them a little too hickish, but we'll get to that in a moment. Now for the bad. Not necessarily the worst aspects of the film, but the ones that really didn't work for me. First off, I would have to say that it's a bit tonally drawing in the first part of the film. It does start very lighthearted and silly, but it's also kind of hard to take the movie serious for a good half hour or so. But once Superman goes into this pocket dimension that Lex Luthor had made, it pretty much gets more serious, and I actually rather enjoy how the movie went from that point. The film struggles to find its tone for about 4 to 5 minutes or so, and once you're past that point in the movie, the film really does grow into what it's trying to do, and it works very well. But it is a little slow going at the start, but once you get into it, it really does work past that first act of the film. Another aspect that didn't really work for me was Jimmy Olsen. I think he's actually played really good by Skylar Gisondo, but I found his character to be kind of a dick. Like, he had that Jimmy Olsen charm, but he also was very popular with the ladies, which I thought was kind of funny. But he also treats the women kind of crappy. Like this one girl who he used to date, he calls her mutant toes and doesn't give her the time of the day, despite the fact that she's literally helping him save the world by giving him information about Lex Luthor. It was just kind of tonally weird and cruel for him to be so mean, and didn't appreciate the attention that he was getting by all these beautiful women. Just kind of a weird handling of the character that I didn't care too much for. And then there's Lex Luthor. I don't really mind Nicholas Holt's portrayal, but I do think he's a little cartoonish at times. Hell, the Superman in the animated series is less silly than this guy. It does work, but it's almost a comedy at times, and it's a little silly. And the fact that he's like capturing ex-girlfriends of his and has an army of monkeys, I'm not even kidding, that are working on computers, kind of like monkeys on typewriters, to write bad blogs and posts about Superman is just a bit much, even for this movie. And lastly, I would have to say that Superman is a bit of a background character whenever the Justice Gang is on screen. I think that James Gunn really wants to focus these characters, and they're good. I like the Justice Gang, but I don't think that they needed the focus that they got, and they should have taken more of a back seat to Superman, considering the fact this is a Superman film. But now for the ugly. These are the aspects of the film that I really didn't like. And there's really only a couple. One is what they do with Jor-El and Lara, and it could be retconned later, and I really hope that it is. But they basically made both of them kind of elitist, and they look down on human beings. And there's a message in the film that Superman gets, but he never saw the entire message. But once it's revealed by Lex Luthor the entire message, it's that his parents wanted him to conquer the Earth and take as many wives as he wants, which is just kind of creepy and gross. I really didn't like this aspect because I've always liked Lara and Jor-El, especially in that original Superman film. Hell, I actually really liked him in Man of Steel as well. And here they're just kind of a bunch of a-holes, and I don't really like how they portrayed them. I really hope that they retcon this in a sequel, and I know people might think that's cheap, but it's good not to crap on Superman's parents. They're not perfect, but they're basically villains in this movie, and I didn't really care for that. And the other aspect that I really didn't like was the portrayal of Ma and Pa Kent. And they basically made them like super hicks, which I thought was really dumb. I grew up in the South, and I've grown up around people on farms and everything like that, and this is like you took a Southerner and then told that person to act super hickish. It just doesn't work. And I'm not saying it's offensive, but I don't know anyone that talks like this. I mean, these people are straight out of hee-haw. If you don't know what that is, just ask your grandparents. And it's really ridiculous. So overall, what do I think about James Gunn's Superman? I'm going to have to give Superman 2025 a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed this film, especially in the last act, but it is a little bit slow going, and there are some aspects, such as the Kents and even Lex Luthor, that really could use some working on in the sequel. And Superman, I think, needs a little bit more of the limelight. A lot of people said that the Superman gets his butt kicked a lot in the movie, but it actually really does work. He's not just like getting tossed around. He pretty much wins most of his fights, but he just needs help on a few of them, and this is like the strongest opponent he's ever faced. He's still front and center here, and he still does show up the Justice Gang. They're just very good. And yes, they're a little more impressive than him at times in this film, but they are 3 of them, and it's just 1 of him. The film is fun. It's heartfelt. I know I haven't mentioned Crypto much, but he's just kind of there. He is enjoyable. I do like him, but there wasn't enough of him for me to really have a strong opinion. He's fun. He's quirky and enjoyable as Superman's dog. Overall, I had a good time with this one. And though I didn't give it a super high review, I think a 7 out of 10 is fair. It's a good movie, but it does have some flaws. But that doesn't really bother me, because I honestly think that these flaws can be ironed out with the sequel and future installments. And I think this is actually a really good launching off point for a new universe. Much more so than Man of Steel, which was just way too dour for a Superman film. Although I still do enjoy that film for what it is. I think that David Corenswet was really good, but I would like to see another director take on this future project and maybe let James Gunn direct the Justice Gang movie. He did a good job here, but I think he's a little bit better suited to team-up movies as opposed to solo superhero films. I thank you all for watching. Let me know what you thought about the film down below, and peace out.